What I hope, dare say what I dream for our diocese is that every congregation would be a place of our Episcopal Church values, and that through that we have our own collective empowerment of being the place where people can turn to and count on, oh, these are the people who are doing God's work in the world. We can turn to the Episcopal Church in our neighborhood because we know they will be helpful neighbors to us.
A mí me gusta esta comunidad mucho porque estamos en familia y como somos un grupo pequeño, es más fácil para nosotros hablar unos a los otros. Y si alguien está enfermo, también nos podemos hablar a ellos. Y ellos dicen si están bien o no están bien, si necesitan algo. So, es una comunidad bien unida.
As a vocational deacon and community organizer, I have learned to look carefully for how power is used. In this broken world and in our diocese, many of us have experienced power wielded against us, either capriciously or cruelly. Most of us can think of times we've been treated carelessly or diminished in our collective life, our best efforts frustrated or even attacked. In a society and a system where dominant power, reliant on rank and relative authority, has been used as a means of control, we have been predictably formed in patterns of domination and submission. Too often, we find ourselves stuck between the death-dealing options of seeking power over and against one another, or opting out altogether. And yet God, the holy, life-giving source of all power, leads us always to liberation. As followers of Jesus, we know a different kind of power that supports and transforms, not power over, but power with. When we draw on the generative worldview of our Gospels, we practice the kind of power that relies on mutuality, reciprocity, and care. We learn how to skillfully use power together to build just communities. Here are just a few of the ways we are collectively empowering within and beyond our diocese.
It took 2 years to break the ice. Building a relationship with the neighbors across the street, her name is Denise, we sat on the concrete floor of the garage, chucking corn, and served 7 families the first time we were open. And then within months, we were up to hundreds. And in 3 months, we were up and around the corner of people waiting to get a bag of food. Now, 20 years later, we've flourished to a free clothing store, appliances, and we serve 10 other agencies.
We're part of a bigger church, and I think that matters. The thing that's so enriching about General Convention, the fundamental thing is the worship, actually. We worship every day together. And then the second thing is that we meet in small legislative groups, bringing our heart of this diocese, those issues that we care about so much, and we're bringing those to the table at General Convention. Yes, it can be dry and dusty in some of the meetings, but we're hashing out these issues that matter, and then we're hopefully bringing back things that we've learned. This is why we're deputies, not delegates. We're bringing back the things that we've learned.
Jesus opened the scroll to Isaiah and said, I'm here to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, to bring hope to the captive. In scripture that brought us from the pulpit to the pews into the public square, this is how we're collectively empowered, by being in communication with one another, by also recognizing we are doing this not alone because we only believe church is in the 4 walls, but church is also outside, in the public square, outside in the pews, to all of God's people.
Our Episcopal tradition teaches us that faith is not a private experience. It's our public witness. Jesus listened to, ate with, and lived amongst the poor, sick, and marginalized of his time. So that is what Jesus calls for us to do as Christians. Episcopal Impact Fund has long stood with those on the margins. For nearly 50 years, we've been serving the Bay Area and the Diocese of California by supporting our neighbors experiencing poverty and housing instability. We're a community of people who gather in the pews on Sunday and then show up for our neighbors on Monday. We believe there's no us and them. Instead, there's just us, together, all of us, as the beloved community.
The volunteers are really like a family. I feel very much part of a family with them.
This is home for a lot of people because we've built the trust up. Every volunteer has something that they wish to show, or one of their passions, and how can it be used in this world. And they leave here knowing that they have received far more than what they have given.
We practice the tenets of what's called trust-based philanthropy, which is really recognizing that the clients of organizations know what they need, right? And the most powerful way of being in service to them is asking what they need, right? And so we work with organizations whose leadership is organically of the community that they serve, right? So that the leaders have lived experience as well as professional experience in their roles. One of the intents of our work is to break down the power dynamic between funder and the funded organization, right? And we refer to our grantee organizations as partners, and we mean that very truthfully.
In the first chapter of the book of Acts, Jesus promises the disciples that they will receive power to become his witnesses to the ends of the earth. Baptism empowers us to live as members of Christ's body in the world and to be truly effective witnesses to Jesus' way. Instead of leaders who amass power selfishly, we follow a leader who defines power as service to others. While Jesus is the source of life among us that draws us into the community of God we call the Trinity, his legacy is not simply a testament to personal charism and power. Instead, Jesus' legacy is found in generations of the faithful who have experienced joy, connection, and abundant life through gathering, serving, and witnessing in his name. As the inheritors of this legacy, we are called to build one another up and use the empowerment we individually and corporately receive in God to collectively empower others. Jesus had a heart for those on the margins, drew diverse populations into his movement, and revealed the power of people acting together for the love of God and love of their neighbors. We in the Diocese of California are inheritors of this legacy, and to be more effective and connected as witnesses to God's love in the Bay Area, we need to celebrate the ways we are already collectively empowered for ministry together, while expanding our ability to exercise the power God gives us in baptism. When we do so, the same Spirit that empowered the first disciples will move among us and send us forth to be channels of transformation in this day.